Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome yourselves back to the Instinct Podcast. The tone's gonna change a little bit because, yes, as we all know, Wrld, Jared Higgins, did just pass away at 21 years old. But that's not exactly what me and Luke are gonna be talking about today. Because everybody's already reported on why, what it was, and although we'll discuss it a little bit towards the end or in the middle, today I want to focus on what effect this is going to have on the hip hop community, whether it's an awakening to drug abuse or whatever, and or whether it's whether we think this is the hip hop community is going to mourn this. Obviously they are, but is it going to have a is this going to be as huge effect as it was with XXX? Just kind of judging what effect and influence this is going to have on the hip hop community as a whole and what it has so far, and then also going to be talking about his future music that comes out and what his label honestly should do, in our opinion, with his music now, and just everything like that. And keep in mind, if we say anything that is disrespectful that you find disrespectful on our part, it 100% was not, because this is death. This is not to be handled lightly or with funniness. Most of the time our podcasts are absolute laughter, fun, messing around, but this is not a matter that we mean to, so if it comes across that way, we're sorry. But Luke, I want to ask you, what effect do you think this will have on the hip-hop community?
I definitely think that this will be another tragic loss that will be mourned for a long time. Just like X, people are still very sad that X is dead, and I hope that this would spark a little bit of reality into a lot of the younger hip-hop slash rappers. I mean, it really was a heartbreaking loss, and once again, a drug-related death. It's really, after a while. No, I know I'm not taking drugs, anything like that. I've not done any of that. But, I mean, after a while, it shouldn't. There have been so many cases where people who have died with drug-related causes, and people just they're like, oh, it's sad. That's just not. Another person died from overdosing and all that. But then they just stop. They stop thinking about it, and they're just like, oh, we're sad that he's dead, and
they go back to it.
Then another person dies of drug-related causes. I mean, this needs to be a big wake-up call to a lot of rappers and hip-hop artists, and artists in general, people in general, who are using drugs right now, who are using meth and all that. I mean, this should be a wake-up call to all of them. And I do think, because this is Juice WRLD, and this is another huge name in the industry, I think this will spark some reality into a lot of artists.
Yeah, I agree. And not even that. I think the biggest thing, well, that obviously, but I think the biggest thing is the awareness of when rappers are talking about this in songs, they make it cool. It sounds cool, like, popping pillies, drinking lean or whatever. It desensitizes how serious the subject actually is. And like we said, me and Luke have actually never done drugs or anything, right? But from what I've seen,
because we're here.
From what I've seen and what I can understand, what I can understand is that once you start taking them, getting off them is insanely hard. Now, yes, you can go to rehab and all of that, right? But even that's hard. The withdrawal symptoms is what I'm talking about. That's the serious part of it. And if the withdrawal symptoms were easy, everybody would get off them. So then what's the answer? The answer is never get on them in the first place. Well, then I kind of sound like I'm being insensitive, right? Because they take him. Let me finish. Because they take him because they're in depression. They're in terrible times, right? So to some people, they might think, oh, you're being insensitive. Well, here's what I'd say. You don't have to believe in God, right? You don't have to at all. But you need to turn to something else. And I know it's easier, said than done, right? And like I said, I might sound insensitive, but I'm not trying to. But the hard cold truth is, if you turn to something else instead of drugs, it can be a much better fix than drugs, and it doesn't get you hooked, and it doesn't end up killing you in the end. So I get it's hard to get off them, and that the hip hop community or whoever takes drugs and sees this can't just immediately, not everyone can just immediately be like, oh, okay, I'm done. I can't say that because I've never been in that position. You know what I mean? But at the same time, we shouldn't be giving our power and our emotions and how we feel to other people, for one, right? That's one. But what we really should not be giving it to is substance abuse, and something that's going to end up hurting us and people around us much, much more than benefiting us. And in the end, killing a rapper. Any thoughts about that, Luke?
I definitely think that I do not think you're being insensitive. I think people who say that this is insensitive, they're just ignoring the facts here, ignoring
I'm just trying to
history of death.
I'm just trying to kind of tiptoe around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's good of you to do that, because then we can avoid any negative comments.
Yeah.
Comment section.
Well, I don't care about negative comments. I just don't want to hurt someone who's in that position. And they're like, I've tried to get off, but I can't. And I know Juice WRLD tried to get off, a couple of times or whatever. But people, like you were saying,
what? He went back to it over and over again. That was just not. He really did not do well in that process. But this is definitely something that is definitely a hard thing to do. I do think that's it's really. I got to be careful with what I say here, but this is one of the hardest battles to get over, without a doubt. But this can definitely be avoided. We've seen so many artists, so many people in general just overdose and die. We've seen so many people.
Yeah.
And at this point, you figure, oh wait, drugs are bad. But no. And once again, we have another person. Another person who is dying because of drug-related. It's all ridiculous after a while.
Yeah.
It's all really ridiculous, and it's been so stupid that people have just continued to take drugs and die of overdosing. And it's amazing how people are just like, there are plenty of anti-drug programs, a lot of rehabilitation programs, but a lot of people just aren't taking them, and it's really, really affecting my generation too. It also affected Generation X a lot too.
Yeah.
But I've seen it a lot in my school. I'm seeing it a lot everywhere. People just think, oh, if I just take this, I'll be just fine. But in reality, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah,
You've seen all these other people die because of these causes, the symptoms and all that. It's really ridiculous that people are still dying because of this.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like when you take a drug over and over and over again, and then you withdraw when you don't have it, and you have to take it to get back to that place that you're going back to is just as good as soberness. You know what I mean? And what we were saying, I liked your point. You're saying everybody's just like, oh, okay, just kind of like whatever. Not everybody, obviously, but a lot of people. And the biggest reason, like I was saying earlier, is because rappers glorify it rather than the opposite. So all of Juice WRLD's music is laced, and it is filled with drug-related references, to where when you're rapping it, you're singing it, you're like, oh, this is kind of cool, it's like, not cool, but you get what I mean. So it's just I hope this has an effect on hip-hop, the community, and it shows rappers that they have a lot of responsibility with what they're talking about, they can help people
Exactly.
get through hard times, with what their songs mean, for sure. I know Juice WRLD did that for a lot of people, but they're also recommending and saying that they're doing all these drugs and all these things, and these people also happen to be rich and happen to be super cool. So it's like, oh, I want that lifestyle. No, you don't. So yeah, like you're saying, I hope this is the huge ripple effect to the hip hop community, because if we're talking numbers wise, this is one of the biggest people in a while to die from drug abuse, and one of the most beloved people from drug abuse. But if you don't have any other final thoughts kind of about how it'll affect hip hop as a whole, I would like to move into his future music. But is there any other thoughts you have about this, Luke?
No, feel free to move into that.
Yeah, so okay, so I'm gonna let you answer this question and then I'll get into it. So
Okay.
since XX Tentacion has died, they've released, I believe, 3 projects of his music, and I'm an X fan. I was before he died, and I can say, honestly, confidently, that out of probably like the 50 songs they've dropped since he's died, he would only himself put up like a fraction of those. And am I X? No. But the reason I say that is because the quality has obviously gone down. So, and a lot of people think that as well. And whether you agree or disagree on that, Juice WRLD, now that he's gone, there's a lot of things that'll happen. I mean, there's like we were just talking about what will happen to the hip hop community, but there's also what will happen to his music now. What will his label do? What would you like to see his label do with his music now that he's passed, Luke?
I would like to see more X music, and
You mean Juice music?
this is yeah. Well, X music as well.
Oh yeah,
As well in this situation. But I would like to see this because, I mean, we're not going to see him anymore, clearly. So it's at this point, I really do think they should keep releasing. And I mean, the fans are really, I mean, they miss all these artists that have died of this cause, and all artists who have died in general, unless they're just really hated for some reason.
yeah.
But this is definitely something that I think they should continue to release these albums, because I mean, it just gives the fans a nice taste, a newer taste of their favorite artist's music. And they passed away, and that, I feel like that makes that a little bit more special, because I mean, they're no longer there, and they get to listen to some of their final arts.
Yeah, final words, final thoughts, yeah.
Final words, final thoughts, and all that. And it's really, oh, bro, I feel like it's pretty sentimental to hear that. So I do agree that I do like them releasing newer songs after they have died. I do think they should release more Juice WRLD stuff after.
Do you think there's a possibility that they could overdo it?
You could definitely overdo stuff, yeah. I do think that they should. I mean, we got to be sensitive and all that. If they want to sell, a lot of his newer songs, they need to be very, very smart, marketing wise. But I mean, I don't think that they should release it all at once. I think they should time it.
Yeah.
If that's what you mean.
My problem with that is kind of what I mean. My problem with them releasing X's music is, like I said, it was unfinished songs, it was snippets, it was songs that I don't think X would release, and for me, it was a big drop in quality compared to his music before. And that's not a knock on X. That's not a knock on X, because he was not the one releasing the music, obviously. That's a knock on his label. I hope they don't turn Juice's death into a money grab. As far as releasing every single possible song he ever had or ever had an idea or concept for, and just putting it all out there, pushing it all out there. Because part of dropping albums in music is the theme to it. It's the aesthetic to it. It's the vibe of it, the cover art, all of that different stuff. Not just putting the music out there. So if they were to drop all of Juice's music throughout, let's just say the next 3 years, to be honest, I wouldn't like that. What I want them to do is I want them to drop the songs that people knew he was passionate about. I don't want them dropping a song that when he was here he said he hated. And I also don't want them, dropping an unfinished song from him. I want them to drop his best final work that he was proud about. And I want them to try and make a musical from a musical standpoint to follow out his last wishes and his vision and his last words, rather than releasing songs that maybe he never even had ideas of artists hopping on, or beats, or concepts that he died or he just didn't want to use anymore because he was in a different emotional space or headspace. I want them to release Juice WRLD music that would go on this third album. And luckily he almost has done his third album. I believe it was just about done the album, and it was supposed to drop this month. So I believe that's going to be a very, very good project. But from then on, after his third album's released, right, Luke?
Yeah.
All that other music is on the label to decide how to put it out and all of that. I just want them to do it in Juice's benefit and what they think he would want, not what would get them money. And what would get them money is dropping everything as much as possible, because like you say, when an artist dies, it becomes sentimental. But what people believe, and what I believe they did with X, was they just put it basically all out there, and now they're out, rather than taking all of the different snippets and different music and making it into a high quality album. I believe they stretched it out over 3. So yeah, any thoughts about that?
I do think that you're correct, and I mean, I'm not trying to be insensitive here, but X has been dead for a little while now, and I mean, definitely respect to the dead at this point. Don't start like messing around in that way. But it's I do think that they should, even if songs are unfinished, they should try to finish them, and it'd be cool to have another rapper or a singer get on songs like that with X. And now with Juice WRLD, I mean, bro, it just seems like it would be something cool to do and something sentimental. I mean, you look at that. Now, I do agree with you. Don't release songs that the artist hated. Don't do that. Even for marketing. I do think that even for just success, I do not think that they should do that. Even if the song is super good, if the artist said that he would not feel comfortable with that release, then respect the artist's wishes, even if he's dead. You know what I mean? It's kind of like...
Yeah. All I'm saying is I want them to try and just not disrespect Juice WRLD musically in the future. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, and I want to hear more Juice WRLD songs. I honestly do. And a plus is that Juice had many songs that he actually has finished. So there's going to be a lot of Juice WRLD content. I just want them to do it with care and concern, and not just money all in mind. And I'm not saying that's what was all in the mind of XXXTentacion's label, but it seemed like that a little bit, especially off the most recent album from him. So I just hope that kind of closing up those two conversations we just had, that the hip-hop community does not take this lightly, and so does his label. And they both take this with care, concern, and apply it to the future. But before we close off this video, I want to sort of talk about his, actual death, and all that happened. and specifically concerning that. I was just thinking about this, but I'm not look, I'm not trying to be disrespectful here, right? Obviously, but if Juice had just not done anything, right, with the drugs at the airport, I think personally he could have gone to jail, or not gone to jail, but he would have been arrested, and he could have gotten out because he has buku bucks, great lawyers, and everything. So kind of thoughts on that. Do you think there could have been another way out?
I did not think that in this situation. I really did think it was ridiculous how he plans to try to get away with it. But I do not. I think he still would have gone to jail. I still think.
Yeah.
But in this situation, even if you have good lawyers, if you're transporting that stuff anywhere, or if you have that stuff on you at any time, it's gonna screw you up. And
point is, it would have been better than dying. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, definitely. But you say way out, it's not really a way out of that. You're gonna get arrested in that, but not dying is definitely the better option.
Yeah, I just like we were saying, just kind of, yeah. Just sorry for cutting you off, but just kind of a conclusion, just like that whole thing, drugs, all of this, just rappers dying. It can all be, like it can all be. It's not necessary, and obviously that's better said than done. I'm not in the position, I know, but it's really just sad to see this, and now especially Juice Wrld. And condolences to Ski Mask, dude, and all of his close family members. But yeah, so we'll be back to our our regular scheduled videos, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We do song reviews every single week, so when Juice drops, or man, this is really weird to say now, but when Juice's label, dang, that really sucks to say, but when his label drops his new music, we'll be some of the first people to do an album review. Yeah, any final thoughts, Luke?
No,
but check out Luke's channel, link in the description. He has some really quality sports content, so if you're looking at if you want to see the most recent sports news and stuff like that, subscribe to him. Most recent music news and stuff, subscribe to me. Comment down below your favorite song / memory of Juice Wrld, and if you agree with us, or if there's anything we said that was kind of like off or whatever, let us know. We'll see you guys later. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.